wanted to show my little shit's cup. Mommy's little shits.
You can show your little shit's cup. Mom's already swearing in the first 5 seconds of the podcast.
Started. I haven't even given the date
my
yet.
mom. What is today? Today's
October 8th.
October 8th. Saturday, October 8th. You didn't even compliment my hair yet. Mom, tell me I'm a pretty boy.
Oh, of course
Tell
I
me
did.
I'm
When
handsome.
I saw you, I told you it looked nice.
Usually I hate getting my hair cut, but this one was well needed because
It was dope.
I tell everyone there are 3 people in this world that can touch my hair. That's you, Grandma, and Danielle. That's it. Danielle's my hairstylist, so that's my rule. So I desperately need a haircut.
I used to cut everybody's hair in the kitchen, right? When you guys were little.
Yeah, we got made fun of, Mom.
No, you did not.
I got beat up in school.
I still do Dad's hair.
I got beat up in school for your shitty haircuts.
Stop it.
Should go with a razor, just.
Bro.
I swear to God, she put a bowl on my head once.
Anyway. Say it again. People would stop me on the street and ask if you were baby models.
Yeah, I know. But we got a lot to talk about this week, Mom. No questions in the Discord, which kind of hurt, but I know everyone's busy this week. So there's a lot going on. So, would you like to start this week, or would you want me to?
I always start, so why don't you start?
Okay. Well, this one, I've been wanting to talk about this one, because this is the one that I really want to talk about. Applying for student loan forgiveness was supposed to be seamless and simple. So far, it's been anything but. Now, did we say, I want someone to go back to the first podcast where we talked about this, where we said that this was going to backfire. So this is the perfect example of one thing that I have, a real problem that I have with the left when it comes to government, more specifically our Democratic senators and representatives. Especially in government, I feel like they come up with these plans that sound really good on paper and they don't come up with a plan B. At least on the Republican side, when it comes to anything government, I feel like at least they have, like, it may not be the best idea sometimes for what they have or what they bring to the table, but at least they have steps and plans of, like, fail-safes. Right, if something goes wrong. This one is the perfect example of they didn't put full thought and full effort into it. New midterms were coming up, so they had to get something out so that it gives them some votes.
Right, but it didn't come from Congress. This came from Biden's White House.
Right, exactly. But I'm just saying, like, the overall idea. You come up with this great idea that sounds great on paper, gets those votes that everyone gets happy for so that you get those midterm bumps, and then it fizzles out and it screws you in the end, because this was the perfect example of I'm not going to go through everything that changed because it's a little confusing, but basically you could make the argument that was because the Republicans started to do lawsuits towards it, which made it look bad. But basically these lawsuits just point out all the problems that was with this. Now they said, okay, well, we can sue over this. And now they're getting crushed because, again, they didn't plan ahead for what's going to happen. So now it's not that you won't have student loan forgiveness, but if you were one of those people that were like, oh, I qualify, you probably don't qualify anymore. Yeah. So now all your student loan forgiveness ideas where you were planning ahead, maybe change some financials around because you were starting to get some, you thought that your debt was going to be forgiven. Well, guess what? It's not forgiven anymore. Right. But, yeah, this is just one of those ones that I backfired in our president's face, and I knew it was going to happen.
See, the reality with a lot of this stuff is they live and die by poll numbers.
Yeah.
So you're right before an election. You're trying to throw anything out there they call it ginning up your base, throwing something that your base really wants. And what they didn't realize was just how unpopular it was. They thought it would garner a lot of votes, but too many people on both sides of the aisle are saying, hey, wait a minute. No, we didn't sign on for this. This is not, it's not fair to, for example, the Democratic plumber, like we talked about, people that didn't go to college and now they have to pay through taxation for other people to go to college. And that's not necessarily Republican. And that's why with polling, it becomes an issue. And they try to backtrack it. So now they change the parameters to make it only a smaller group of people now qualify for it rather than a larger group. And
and we knew this was going to happen because we knew right away it's one of those things that sounds really good on paper, so that you go, yes, this is what I want. You sign up for it, and then they go, well, hold on, we got to backtrack because we didn't have all the parts that we needed in place so that this would work for everyone equally.
They've talked about this for a while now. It never polls well.
Never. Yeah.
That just tells you how very desperate they are. That in this midterm election,
Here's
the
my
Democratic
guess.
administration,
Yeah.
because they had nothing and they thought they were going to get more younger voters. And
I think, Ray, I'm going to take it one step further. I think they knew that this was going to backfire based on the fact that it has failed in the past and having a new president wasn't going to fix it. I think they expected this to blow up after the elections rather than before. And now it just happened so fast because it was so poorly done and so poorly thought out that they're just eating poop right now in October, a month before. But man, we called this one, Mom. Woo! This is what we said a month ago.
They're desperately trying anything they can possibly throw out there, and they'll try and tweak it. But as you said, now you have the lawsuits coming into play.
Yeah.
You have the various states filing saying, you know what, you can't do this. You can't.
Yeah.
First of all, there's questions whether the executive branch even has the power to do something like that. Even Nancy Pelosi said over the summer, who's the secretary, the Speaker of the House, I'm sorry, even she said a president is not able to do it. Now all of a sudden everybody's on board. So constitutionally, it's probably not going to pass. They also know this too, and they throw it out there knowing full well that it's going to go through the courts, but they're hoping that they have uneducated voters who think it's going to happen and they'll go vote. And then after the election, they'll be disappointed when the courts say, no, you can't do it, and they throw it out. So
yeah, but this one was, I just want to bring this up because we did call it.
Yeah.
I was very happy that we knew this was going to happen. But
yeah.
That was mine.
Yeah. Well, that was your first
Yeah,
one?
that was my first one. There's not much more to go off of until we figure out what exactly is going to happen. They don't really talk about the exact things that are going to change, but it just seems like if you were one of the people that, like, if the cutoff was like 25,000 a year, now it's like 10, which is a big difference. So it's just stuff like that. And
Yeah,
like who's
I
going
read
to get it, who won't,
A
who's
couple
going to
days
pay.
ago, I forget what I think it was the thresholds. They changed the thresholds or back to, they made it higher income, right? So
Something like that.
Yeah.
Either way, it just, again, poorly planned.
yeah,
They didn't
I
think
wasn't
ahead.
taking it seriously because I knew this going to be shot down at some point.
Yeah.
Probably not till after the election. So mine, I have two that are related to each other, and it talks about inflation. So inflation is now getting real. We have shipping down 75% ahead of Christmas shopping.
Ooh.
So this is coming from Don Serber. Cargo ship traffic is down 75% this month, which is not good with Christmas around the corner.
Shipping like speeds or shipping prices?
Meaning goods coming in to be
So
sold.
importations and
Right. Shipping is down 75%. So the transport industry sees a weaker demand as retailers and wholesalers are cutting their inventories due to inflation. So because we're not requesting more of these goods, less is coming. Why? Because of inflation, people aren't buying stuff. This would be good news if we were a producing country,
Yeah, we're
but
not.
we're not, right? Because
what happens when you
otherwise we would
rely
produce
on-
it here, and people would buy our own goods and services. Another reason why we need to start production in this
Well,
country.
I was talking to someone at the gym about basically oil inflation, how we were talking about Germany, because Germany is about to go through one hell of a winter because they don't have any oil. And I said, why don't you start fracking, or you have to start doing something. But that's kind of the idea of when you rely on third-party sources, like going to other countries for stuff. This is the shit that happens when it goes south, right? You assume it's not going to go south, and it does. And now look at this. Now we're going to have crazy Christmas shopping in the crazy lack of.
Literally, the last president at a UN speech told Germany, you cannot rely on Russia for all your energy needs in this pipeline. I'm sorry, not a year ago.
2 years ago,
2
at
to
least.
3 years ago. They showed these individuals laughing at him from Germany.
And he was right.
And exactly that has happened. And Putin controls so much of the oil in Western Europe. And now they're at his mercy. So now they're talking about firing up the coal plants and nuclear.
Yeah, that's not something, like, even if you start fracking, that's not something that changes everything in a day. And
No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
And they're going to have a very cold, difficult winter
Winter's
over
gonna
there in the
suck.
West. And the new prime minister in Italy, Giorgia Meloni, just recently did a deal with Putin to make sure Italians get gas. She's not stupid. She's got to, people need to be protected.
Yeah.
And that's their only source. That's what they got to do. But they need to wake up to the fact. as we know in this country, we were energy not only independent, we were dominant. We had the ability to ship it out. And with literally the flick of a switch over green ideology, we shut it down.
Yeah.
And look at where we're going. Now we're down 75% with Christmas shippings, right? With goods coming in. We are down, U.S. production is at its lowest level in 2 years. We don't have the fuel to throw these plants to get these production facilities
it's not
up.
even that's down because of an inflation. I think it's down because basically COVID and everyone wanted to work from home. So now you're not, right? Most jobs now are home. You're not doing as much.
Well, no, we started to see a pickup after COVID because
okay.
we went from zero, right, to a little something. But we were not even before COVID a producing country, or not to the extent that we needed to, especially after we shut down.
I'm pretty sure our number one production is firearms. I'm pretty sure that's like what we're known for globally.
Well, I
think our firearm production's insane.
We've become more of a service country, and we've learned from the COVID experience we need to be producing goods, and when you're in inflation, that's how you get low to mid-income jobs.
I think even JFK was warning us of this back when he said you can't rely on this for that long, because that's when they started doing importations.
Well, we started outsourcing jobs to China with the George W. Bush when he was in office. The second George Bush, maybe his father. No, it was the second.
But he was right. You can't rely on these other countries. One day it's going to bite us in the face, and everyone said, "Yeah, I mean, we'll get to that eventually." Well, eventually came. Now, now it's kind of, as you can see, it's kind of screwing us over.
Well, and add to that, which it doesn't make sense economically, we've got massive numbers of people coming in over the border. We essentially have no border anymore.
Yeah.
And we're being told by all these billionaire corporate owners that we need the workers. We need them. We need them. All these workers do is depress the wages for minorities in this country. And what's interesting we don't have the jobs for them. Right. How many lawns do you think there are that these individuals are going to cut? Or how many salons? Or how many even college positions are there for these people?
Those are the jobs that my mother's talking about, not like jobs as in like, oh, let's put these people in a company. Usually they don't have the requirements needed to even be in a company. Plus, if they're not legal citizens, they can't get a job under the paperwork. But
right. I mean, there's a million other jobs. They work in restaurants. They work in hair.
Yeah, of course. You don't need that kind of qualification for it. But,
right. And they don't, some states, they don't check the documentation. So these individuals don't have to become citizens. So they don't have to pay a tax. And, there's a whole lot of problems with it.
But what's funny is when we talk about our current president apparently created more jobs, like more people are getting jobs, it means those get factored in. So is that really true that they're
right? And these jobs, but you're adding more people, and wages are not keeping up with the inflation. So you're making it doubly worse for lower income people, lower wage earners, because now you're flooding the market with more workers. And it's like anything else. If I could get somebody else to take the job for less money because they desperately need it too, I can pay him. Because, again, they're not citizens. Right. I don't have to pay them
and
their
there's
wage.
Usually no paper trails. It's usually over the counter. So that you can't go, oh, well, you didn't pay me enough this month. There's a lot of loopholes that big businesses will take when it comes to hiring, I don't want to say, illegal immigrants. That's really what it comes down to, yeah.
Some are legal, some are illegal, but and all that does is depress it. But on the flip side, and I didn't do this article because, I found it outrageous, but it is what it is. This is the world we're in. For middle-class people and educated people, you have these H-1B visas and the L1s, LN1s. What those are is they are hiring, and we have arrangements from our government with, say, Southeast Asia, with India, with countries where they come in and they take the jobs of our middle managers. And they're forced to train these individuals who come in on these visas because they're told, you're going to get fired, but you have to train your replacement or you're not getting a severance. Yeah,
it's weird how that works. That's one of those things that should be illegal. Like, there's got to be something to that regulates that. But think about it. Like, that's you're basically bound to... I mean, you are getting paid, so I guess that is... somewhat of
that's outrageous.
Yeah,
to me,
I guess
like
my guess is that's how
you're forced to hire the person that's going to terminate your job, and they hang over your head the threat of you're not going to get your severance. We're just going to fire you.
Yeah.
Which, some people may have the position to say, fine, fire me. Go train the person yourself. No. But most people, especially in a high inflation environment, They need the money. Before, our borders were as open as they have been this past year. I mean, we're talking millions of people have come into this country. The H-1B visas were the bigger issue. People that overstayed, like came for work visas, and they never left.
Yeah.
And that's not low-income jobs. Those could be
there is a little caveat
jobs.
to that, though, because I did read that, too. The other caveat is they have been in lockdown for, like, we had the 2-year lockdown and 1-year lockdown, but their countries, some of them still weren't allowing people back in. So they were kind of forced to stay here, or they had to go somewhere else.
Well, that is true, but this has been going on for decades.
Yeah,
the H-1B visa programs.
But COVID didn't help, is what I'm saying.
Right. COVID is an anomaly across the board for a lot of things, but this has been going on, and now it's coming, and now it's in full swing because the current administration has done more and more with other countries and made arrangements. Yeah. We will take X percent of your citizens basically to come work with these visas in our country, and we'll just put them in jobs and get rid of American workers.
I don't think Brazil. I think Brazil is still. I don't think you can fly in and out of Brazil yet.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know which countries are. I just heard Canada recently, changed their.
No, well, Trudeau's.
Yeah, that's a mess up there. But they just recently switched it.
Most everyone knows. Most of my friends are in Canada, and they can't. I don't know anyone that likes Trudeau. I hate to say it, but yeah, that guy's really screwed that place.
Who is the conservative counterpart, was just ripping into him at their, they have a similar arrangement like the UK with their parliament, ripping into him about this carbon tax and putting these restrictions. And meanwhile, you just jetted all over Canada.
I know.
And he said a huge amount of jet fuel. What's your answer to that? And there was no answer. He just babbled on about something else, and it's just in your face.
He's the king of redirecting questions. He was like the Jen Psaki, but male.
Yeah, but, people are onto that. Sometimes...
Yeah, we know now.
No, wrong answer is... So anyhow, don't count on a good Black Friday this year because consumer spending analyst says people just can't afford to splurge. Not going to happen.
Or you might go the other way, and the people because the price is so high, you're going to see a lot of people try and get it first. So you see...
People can't afford it.
Yeah, that's true.
It's inflation. People can't afford it. And it's not coming in. So along the same lines, which... It's a little closer to home here. Record high prices expected for the Thanksgiving turkey this year. Okay?
Oh, God.
Due to inflation. So
are you saying my Butterball turkey is not going to be...
Well, in 2021, it was $3.16 a pound. This year, in September, $6.70 per pound.
Wow, more than double.
112% higher. Okay?
Wow.
But supplies should be okay. According to Zippy Duval.
Zippy, come on, Zippy, pull through.
Zippy Duval.
You better not be lying to me, Zippy.
He's the president of the American Farm Bureau Federation. He notes that there was an uptick in the avian flu, which added to the price increase, but you also have higher costs for the feed, the fuel, and fertilizer, okay, and also labor. So all these things are going into it, add to an inflation. So 2 reasons why the holidays might be,
Yeah, but you might see a lot of Thanksgiving hams.
I might. We can make money if we can craft ham drumsticks.
Yeah. So just like one of those presses, and just cuts it.
You stick it into the side of the big ham hock.
Yeah. But I mean that's a shame. But I wonder if the way my only fear is he says supply is going to be fine, but I wonder if that means smaller turkeys. Right, they make up for the supply in smaller turkeys.
Yeah, but they haven't had the feed, the fertilizer.
I need my 52-pound turkey. I don't even remember what ours was last year, but dude, that thing was illegal. I wonder what they're gonna do with the what's that deal? I think it's ShopRite that does the free turkey every Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
I wonder what happens with that.
That's not a Butterball usually, but
yeah, I wonder.
I haven't heard. I have to see. Usually by now it's on your receipt that you start saving for it. But if you think about that, a 20-pound bird.
Yeah.
At $6 a pound.
It's nice that ShopRite does that, though. For those of you that don't know, because it's a lot of money. You guys might not have ShopRite, but ShopRite does a deal every year where if you accumulate a certain amount of credit with their store, right, or something like that. Yeah,
as you shop, you buy. ShopRite's not the only one. Other chains
do it.
Right, I think Stop and Shop may have something similar, but. All around the country, Publix and whatnot, I think they all do some sort of thing. But that's a substantial amount of money for. But
you still have to explain it to the people that don't know it. Basically, you get a free turkey.
Oh yeah.
If you
spend
accumulate,
a certain amount, you qualify for a free turkey, or they put my money towards a Butterball.
Yeah.
Because normally it's a generic turkey, but we usually go for the Butterball.
You got to go for the Butterball.
Got to go for the Butterball.
But yeah, so that's why. So I'm curious if they'll do that this year.
Butterball is not a sponsor of this.
But Butterball, if you're listening, someone at Butterball and TikTok or whatever.
We
I
have
don't
to
even
do
know
that
that.
disclaimer. We do not get paid to
Yeah.
endorse Butterball.
But again, if they wanna hit us with
happy to let you know how good our Butterball was.
Yeah, every year for the last like 20 years. So mine aren't really anymore in politics. Do you have one that's still in politics? Do you want to go into your China one? My mom's been talking about this China one all day, but I don't know if you guys are ready for this. Does Steve Bannon have like this is a deep, big scoop?
It isn't. It's a big scoop in the sense that nobody knows about it, or it's kind of under the radar. And hopefully, this comes from Kenneth Koa the Great, he does a lot of
Kenneth
Koa. Call it?
Now hold on.
He's a journalist.
Kenneth Koa the Great. He calls himself the Great.
That's his Substack, or that's his title. But
I don't know
he's
if I
an
trust a guy
investigative
who goes
journalist.
by the Great.
Well, I wrote a lot about it, but it gets kind of tedious, so I'll put it in brief. So there's this company called KAKE, Konnech. The CEO is a man by the name of Eugene Yu. He is connected to the Chinese National People's Congress. Okay, he created this U.S. election software company called KAKE. He was just arrested in Michigan, but before we get into that, he was also arrested in Los Angeles. So the U.S. found he had U.S. poll worker info on servers in the People's Republic of China. So the Michigan and LA County, they paid through contract this company to get the poll worker information. Now, those are people on election day that are involved in anything to do with the ballots, moving the ballots, counting the ballots, whatever. And you have to give a lot of information about yourself to qualify for that position. And they also have to know who you are and, obviously to avoid any outside influence. So all this information is supposed to be stored securely here, and that's his job as this election software company. Turns out there's this group called True the Vote, which their name's been popular only because they've been called conspiracy theorists, whatever. They have been questioning the 2020 election, and they've been coming up with facts about it. And in their investigation, they go through the work of this guy, and using another software system, they're able to track down the subsidiaries of this company and whatnot. And they found that not only did he have all this information, he's storing it in servers over in the People's Republic of China. Right. That's an absolute no-no, okay? Yeah. That's over 1 million people's information.
Right, that's a data breach. Like whether it's, again, I don't know if I want to talk about actual election fraud on YouTube because they'll ban that. But from a data perspective, usually what you want to do is you want to off-source. Like if you were a data company, like someone who has a lot of data, you would outsource somewhere else because that way it's actually safer to put it in another country so that if you were trying to hide something from government, like if government shut one system down, they can't shut it down in another country. But when it comes to something as important as like U.S. elections, where something just focuses on U.S. election stuff, you don't want that in another country. See what I'm saying?
And it's not allowed to be basically
there's
based on
probably
the rules of our
that.
government.
Well, it's a government server technically, right? Because it's something that attacks the government.
No, I don't think so. This is his own company, his own software. They contract him to maintain this information.
Right, but here's my question. Besides U.S. government, what else is this company used for?
Well, they do other stuff in terms of the election. It's election management service type
So will
software.
they do this in other countries too, though? Like, does his...
Canada. So they have an issue with him in Canada too. So he has been involved in other countries. He shut some companies down, but meanwhile they've traced it back, and others that he started earlier. So you have the shell game where it's called Konnech, but Konnech goes back to the Xinjiang company, blah 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 blah. He opened another R&D software subsidiary in the Xinjiang, China, in 2005. That website boasts about, and he boasts about his election management solutions in Detroit, U.S. overseas voters. So he's not hiding the fact over there that, they have this information. Now keep in mind for everybody, and we heard for how long, both sides, Russia, foreign influence. They tried to manipulate our election. That's a no-no. It's bad. It's as bad as, say, in illegal voting. That's a foreign person manipulating our election. People don't seem to be crazy when they hear about illegals voting in inner cities. To me, that's foreign interference. Anybody who's a non-citizen voting in our election or involved in it, that's election interference right there. So you have to question, a handful of people, how big is it that's influencing it? And in this case, I've got people tied to, some would say, our adversary, China.
Yeah.
They have a vested interest
Well, if you
in
have
the
a
outcome
data
of our
server
elections.
you said it's in China, right?
In China.
Yeah,
they traced it back to China.
In a communist country that has power over everything, that's the last place I would want a data server that involves our elections. Right?
Yeah, I mean,
I think anyone on both sides, no matter where you are politically, will agree with that. You don't want your data, right? Not just ours, but yours as well,
right,
in China.
Yeah, I mean, it's just especially election information, and that's a problem.
Do we know specifically what data's over there? Like what states are these used in the sense of what
here's
data?
the thing. We know that these poll workers' information was over there. Data about them. That's about 1 million people that they have information over there. But the interesting part about this article, and just keep in mind, the New York Times took this information before this man was arrested and tried to make it sound like it was another conspiracy theory from election people.
Right, and now we know it's not. Right?
But
it's not a conspiracy
he's been
theory.
arrested.
Yeah.
And the LA County arrested him, and the Detroit also went after him for having this information, which is not allowed to be stored. They contracted to have it maintained safely here, and now it's officially going over. It's been traced overseas to China. So the FBI was involved. That's a whole other issue. But obviously, they're looking into this and his affiliates. He was engaging in software offshore outsourcing services for more than 10 years.
See, I think if we were to say election fraud, I think the only reason that the FBI is involved isn't because they care about the actual fraud aspect, but I bet they care that it's in China. Because I think if he put that in anywhere else but China, I think we wouldn't even hear about it. But because it's in China, I think even the FBI is like, shit, we gotta do something.
Well, the interesting part for all who read the New York Times is even to the bitter end, they're trying to claim that this is some sort of, conspiracy going after the guy. His company's good. They're on the up and up. Well, my second article related to it is he was caught.
Yeah.
With luggage on his way to the Michigan airport. And, he left his cell phone at home. They didn't mention where he was going to go. So all of a sudden he was considered a flight risk when they arraigned him or when they processed him. He was considered a flight risk that he shouldn't be allowed to travel. I don't know if they took his passport. I don't know what they did.
Why was he allowed to travel? Just because he was already warranted? Or?
Well, oftentimes when you arrest somebody and they have dual citizenship, they could leave the country and never come back if they committed a crime.
Oh, I see. So they were looking for this guy to begin with. So this is before he was actually through the court and seen as a...
L.A. brought charges against him.
And he tried to flee, basically.
Right. And he was found in the Michigan airport, and he was trying to... They don't know where he was going yet. Yeah. They found him at an airport with luggage for somebody who was just, charged with
with pretty serious crime.
Serious crimes.
Yeah.
So for it's just a conspiracy theory. You know what? I think there's a lot more to this story, and I think it's very interesting that this is coming out now, to their credit, right before a major election in our country. And add to that, there have been 2 states so far that have I shouldn't say states. One was a very small county up in Alaska that has outlawed the machines that we used in the last election that some people have questioned the validity of. Mm-hmm. So that's fact. I mean, they've said no longer can we use those in the election going forward. I think they're using it for the next one, but going forward, say the next presidential, it has to be a hand count. There was another, I can't remember what it was, but in another state, similar situation, no more. And here you have a software individual with some questionable, maybe it's not directly related to votes and whatnot, but it really, for those who have been, denying what may or may not happen with election integrity, I think there's more to the story that needs to be understood.
Even if, let's just say, some of these machines were tampered. I mean, that's still enough. Just one machine is enough that makes you question, are all the machines a problem?
Well, it's not just the machines. It's the software that we're finding that's easily
Well,
manipulated.
the software is going to be within the machine, I'm sure. Like whatever.
I
so
think
it's
there
be both.
different software. I mean, it's mind-boggling, and you never get the whole picture because certain people aren't allowed to talk about certain things are blocked from being...
There's a lot that goes on there. But, I'll say this. When we talk about it 2 years after the last election, 2 years, I mean, something's going on there. You don't talk about something for this long without some evidence pointing to something. That's what I'll say.
Right, and I just think it's very easy to say, oh, not true, and oftentimes people say not true, not true, but they don't back it up with why it's not true.
Yeah.
So, you know.
Well, on the topic of flying, getting out of the country.
Leave the country.
I don't know this airline, but Lufthansa? I don't know
Lufthansa. That's
Lufthansa?
Germany.
Oh, okay. Bans Airtags, and will other airlines follow the Apple Airtags?
Oh.
So I bring this up because this is funny. I know about. I feel like everyone I know has gone to Italy within the last month. I don't know why.
Really?
My friend Karen went. My friend Lisa went. Danielle went, and my friend Lisa was telling me that they lost their bags for 4 days.
Oh my gosh.
So 4 days. They were in Italy for 10 days. So
Wow.
4 of those days, they didn't have any luggage whatsoever. The only way they knew where the luggage was because they had AirTags on their...
Oh, that's a good idea.
Now, they're banning these. Certain airlines, this one first, are banning these AirTags because it makes them look so bad for losing the luggage,
Yeah,
right?
really.
Now, their argument...
Where was their stuff, did they say?
Lisa told me. I didn't know.
In country, or did
I
they
don't
send
even
it to
remember,
like a whole
but
other country?
they hired 4 different people to try and find it, and the last guy's the one that found the luggage.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I don't know how much she paid to do that, but dear God, I can't imagine what that was like. But she said that they were at least close, like they were in Italy, they just didn't know where it was. It's not like they were in like Kazakhstan or something.
Okay, I was gonna say they were in another country.
Yeah, but this is one of those. This seems like their argument is, well, there's going to be problems sometimes because there's so much luggage in a day getting transferred from one. There's going to be mistakes.
Yeah.
And fair, but also that's like your job.
Yeah,
you know,
I
it's
know.
like part of the job. You can't. That's like if you made ice cream, but like some of these are poisonous.
Yeah.
But that's on you guys. It just happens. Like you can't do that. So I would say encourage more AirTags so that if this does happen, at least these people can get their bags back and know where they are.
Right.
So to ban these seems like it's not our problem and we don't want to look bad.
Well, are they banning it because when it's on a plane, it supposedly conflicts
That's
with the...
probably... There's some argument to that, but like the whole... I mean, this is me talking out of my ass here, so don't do this. But I don't believe that, you know, when they tell you to turn your cell phones off.
Yeah.
I think that's not true anymore. I think nowadays that it really doesn't matter. But
Then why would they have you do it?
because it's like the old way of thinking and the odds of like a frequency problem is pretty much slim to none.
Oh.
So I don't think it's really true. But don't quote me on that. Like, obviously, if they tell you to do something, don't be like, well, Pancake said it's okay. Don't go by me. But I'm 99% sure that it actually doesn't really matter. Maybe if, like, everyone was on their phone at the same time or something, maybe it can cause some problems. But, I mean, it's 2021. I'm sure that the airplanes have something more powerful than our phones to make connections overseas to get to radio towers and stuff. So
plus, we're making the assumption that everybody actually follows the rules.
Yes, I'm sure they.
That too.
Yeah, I'm sure people don't. But that's what I mean. I don't think it makes that much of a difference.
Yeah.
But that's why I don't believe that these AirTags really have an effect either. So when they say, "Hey, don't bring these AirTags on," I think that's completely them just saying we don't want to deal with the headache of having to pay you for forgetting your luggage and stuff like that. Or I have to. Right, Dad was saying. I was telling Dad, and Dad said, "Well, some airlines will actually pay to bring the luggage to your hotel."
Yes.
And I don't think they want to deal with that. They just don't.
But they had to anyhow, because once they found the bags,
Yeah,
they'd have to bring it to them.
My guess is the argument was because the AirTags were there, they can't say, "Oh, well, that's not our problem; it's your problem." Right now that they know that it's at the airport, that means it's on the airport's problem or the line's
that's
problem.
true. That's true.
If it was still on the plane, I mean, if they don't own the airport, it might be airport that has to deal with it. But my guess is you're not going to call the airport; you're going to call the airfare line first.
It's just amazing to me in the 21st century that we still can get a bag with a person
Figure this out
on a plane that it's going to with all the. I mean, God knows they print out this. Thing that they put on each
think
bag.
about
What's the
I don't know
point?
if we said this on the podcast, but one of the earlier podcasts. But when we went to Miami, when Mike and I went to Miami to see Kenny, we had carry-on bags, and they're like, "You have to check this bag because it's taken," right? if everyone's allowed one bag,
Oh,
how is it
okay.
possible
Don't
that
get
I
me
can't
started
put
on
my
that.
how am I checking? How are there more than enough bags?
This
When
is
you-
my pet peeve,
I
Chris.
know
Don't get me
it doesn't
started.
make any sense, and they're like, oh, you have to check that one because there's no more carry-on space. At least they paid for it.
Right.
Cool, but like still, how is there not enough space when you have enough space? Those planes are designed
Right.
so that there's one space for every person.
Right.
Right. So.
And now that you travel more between Miami and New Jersey,
Yeah.
you're gonna find that it's such a pain in the neck. But yeah, you get some real Nazis at the gate. You're not getting on with that bag and blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, I see people in front of me with 3 bags lugging it on, and they stop me with my one legal size
Yeah.
carry-on. Where how is it possible that I have to check my bag?
It's unbelievable. I will never understand that, but yeah, I mean, bring your Airtags. Hopefully they don't take them off. Just hide them somewhere. Because
I
again,
never thought of that, but that's not cheap.
The Airtags?
Well,
the Airtags are. I think one
One
Airtag is like
sleeper.
150. Or no, it can't be that much. I think it might be 80 for an Airtag.
I'm wondering if you always got to worry about those people stealing them too, like people at the airport who load
Well, that's
bags.
that's why you hide it in the bag. You don't put it on the outside.
Oh, I'm thinking it's a tag on the outside.
Yeah, you
Oh,
have to put it
okay,
on the
in
inside,
bag.
so otherwise they'll take it.
Interesting, yeah.
But you got one?
My last one is a follow up on the Colorado baker. Remember we were talking about him? podcasts ago.
That's the cake guy, right?
Yeah,
Okay,
Jack
so
Phillips.
hold on, let's premise this one because we already talked about it. But so was it last week or 2 weeks ago? We talked about I don't remember what the topic was, but basically the story was before. Could this be 2016?
I think it was
The initial problem. I don't even remember.
I think it was in 2015 that it started,
2015.
and I think he was in 2022
Right.
maybe that they no, this is 2022,
So-
2021,
yeah.
like maybe a year or two ago
So
that the Supreme Court
Yeah,
ruled in his favor.
So just to lay the foundation here, this guy was a baker who made cakes. He was a Catholic.
He still
yeah,
does
he still
it.
does
He's
it.
in Colorado.
And
he's
a-
not Catholic. He's Christian.
And a gay couple came to him and said, "We want a wedding cake." And because he's Catholic and the Catholic
Christian.
Church doesn't allow, or Christian doesn't allow homosexuality in the church, he said, "No, I can't make you a cake because it's against my religious beliefs." And he got sued like crazy. I mean, defamation on character, defamation on his company.
They took
and
him
now,
to the courts.
Yeah, and now he ended up winning that case, if I remember correctly.
He did win in the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
You know, they protected his right to religious freedom and freedom of speech, I believe, as well. But the day that the Supreme Court said they would take the case was in 2017. This woman, Autumn Scardina, requested a blue and pink cake for her gender reveal party. Okay?
Blue and, okay.
Pink. She wanted blue on the inside, pink on the outside, something like that, or pink on the inside, blue on the outside, for a gender reveal cake. On the day the Supreme Court says that they will take the case. Okay? Now, it had gone, already this man had already gone through many, many courts to get to the point, to get to the Supreme Court. So we had talked about how it's just pure harassment. You know, they just are singling out this poor individual to make an issue of the fact. And he represents all business people, you know, who don't want to
Well,
do
I don't
certain
understand what's the problem with ordering a cake on the... Like, he's not the one making the cake, is he?
Yes, she went and
Oh,
asked
I'd
him.
assume that he would have some people on staff besides
No.
just him.
He can do, I think he said 6 cakes a week. It's an art for him. This is not like your downtown.
Yeah, okay.
These
I wasn't
are
sure if he had more,
specialty
like, a staff.
cakes. He may, but these are specialty cakes that he creates for people's special events. It's not like he's churning out apple pies. You know
Gotcha.
what I mean? Like he caters to the event. So this person specifically went knowing full well that he's a Christian and that he was in the process of filing with the Supreme Court to protect his religious freedom, to not have to bake a cake celebrating something that he's personally against.
Right.
And we even said he suggested other bakers. He wasn't being like,
Yeah.
you know, totally
Yeah.
discriminatory. He said there's plenty of other fabulous bakers who
But
will do the cake
he
for
can
you.
turn down the cake anyway. Right? He could turn down doing the cake.
No, that's he wanted to turn it down, and she's suing him. That's what the gay couple did.
I don't understand this mentality. You can't sue someone because they don't want... You have the right to turn down...
Not necessarily. They claim anti-discrimination, right?
Oh, God, that's so annoying.
So they're going back to the old days of if you're black, no service. You don't even come in the restaurant if you're a black person. They're equating their situation to
that. Wow.
Right.
How big of a piece of shit do you have to be
well,
to equate those two?
That's their mentality
Wow.
that, I'm a gay couple and you don't have the right to tell me no. Now, the difference is this is his religious belief. He's not attacking the individuals. He's just saying, I don't support your life choice. When he was going to the Supreme Court in 2017, now you have another person.
I just don't understand what the
poking the bear again.
Yeah, but what's the discriminatory problem with this cake?
He does not believe in gender identity fluidity.
Oh, I thought you said it was pink and blue.
She's asked for a pink and blue cake.
Boy, girl.
For her gender reveal. I'm sorry, her gender identity party. She's saying she is changing genders.
Now, here's why this is the bigger issue that I'm picking up on this now. You don't have to really say that part, so that's how you know she's kind of gaslighting
exactly.
the guy. Right? She could have just said boy or girl or whatever just to not cause problems. So this goes to prove that she really just wanted to start a problem.
Right, and that's why I said, my question is, why not just ask for a blue and pink cake?
Yeah. What a freaking
and
moron.
If he and likewise in his part, if he doesn't ask, if I just come in and say I would like to have a blue and pink cake and I'll pay the $500, whatever he charges, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'll pay for this cake. If he's specifically asking, well, what's it for? Because I won't bake certain cakes for certain things. I don't know if that's acceptable as a vendor, and I'm not quite. That's for the courts to decide. But she's specifically telling him what it's for, poking the bear.
Yeah, whereas the gay couple, it was probably, back before all this started, it was probably like, hey, can you make us a cake and just put two men at the top of the wedding cake? That's probably how he knew it was.
Oh, no, you're missing the point.
Okay, I wasn't sure.
He's Christian, and they targeted him because he's...
Even in the first one?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure if that was just
going after this poor man in Colorado.
Oh, okay, I didn't know that.
Now we're, that was maybe 2015 it started, and we're in 2022, 7 years later, this man is still in court.
I didn't realize that the first one was on purpose. I thought it was just two guys that... Because then you had the case. That's why I didn't realize.
They knew that he was a Christian baker. So they go in and they poke the bear and see what happens. And the man said what many other people have said. There are photographers that have said this, and they've been taken to court. And that's why his case is so important. And when it went to the Supreme Court, it set a standard for all the other cases that you can't...
Right, it's considered religious beliefs.
Right, and his First Amendment right, because he considers his cakes to be artwork. And you can't force an artist to make something that they don't want to make, that they don't believe in. He's not mass producing apple pies here. These are artworks, and that was First Amendment right and also religious freedom. You can't force somebody to accept some sort of, event that he considers to be against his, his beliefs. But it was more the First Amendment. You can't force him to create art that he doesn't want to create and doesn't want to produce.
Yeah, that's a weird one because that's clear. Again, the way you know that she wanted to get, it's not even a question, is the fact that she said gender neutral cake. She could have just said blue and pink. So yeah, real hero lady.
and guess what? She won't be alone. They'll come after him again, and at some point, I don't know, what his recourse is.
I'm hoping he can start suing back.
This costs a lot of money. This man has not made of money. Now, these individuals, they're funded by all sorts of liberal groups that are trying to push this agenda on this man, hoping that they'll win one case and say, see, now everybody has to do it.
Yeah, it's first off, it'll never happen. Second off, to your point, I don't know how much money he has that he can keep fighting these lawsuits, but also, at what point is it considered a religious attack?
Yeah,
at what point is it? Yeah, so a religious attack, then you have a good case. If he made that case, you might be able to shut down shop because you made so much money off those lawsuits.
Well, and the Supreme Court is saying they've already said that you can't force him to do this, but damn it, they're going to do it again.
Hey, ma'am, you're going to lose a lot of money.
Right. And I have a problem with, in general, the American Civil Liberties Union, which I believe is taxpayer funded or gets money from the government. And they take the side of this individual. Okay, that's fine. They believe their civil liberties are being attacked. What are they doing for the First Amendment right on the other side? Why aren't the lawyers for the American Civil Liberties Union defending his right and take that to court? I don't know why, why is it always one-sided? And that's the First Amendment is the First Amendment. It's above all the other amendments for that reason.
There's a reason it's the first one.
Freedom of speech, religion, the press, and to be able to say as our legal defense, civil rights defense group, they always seem to take the side of the marginalized, well, I don't even say that, the liberal side, and that's fine. But why aren't there attorneys on the other side to debate this in front of the Supreme Court or in the courts? It's always the individual has to go out and find somebody. As it turns out, it's a Christian or a religious group of lawyers that are fighting the case for him. But we'll see the saga of poor Jack Phillips continue. I think he has a GoFundMe. I'm not sure if they haven't taken that down, or some sort of financial.
Oh, I'm sure. I mean, there's no way he
him.
could be taking those lawsuits without taking some serious losses.
Yeah.
Poor guy, but sucks that it's him that's getting singled out.
Yeah. He's become the poster child. He's fighting the good fight. Yeah. So.
Well, on a happier note, report. Even Facebook isn't using its own metaverse. Begs employees to spend time in it.
God.
So the metaverse is not doing very well. But, I'm going to say this. I don't think it's so much that the metaverse sucks. I think it's more so that VR kind of sucks. So, for instance, I was doing some VR recordings the other day, and they're borderline unusable. But let me tell you, VR kind of sucks because it blows because it's not. We've talked about this, but I'm sweating the whole time, so the lens fogs up. I can't see shit.
Yeah.
I'm trying to do all these things. Sometimes certain things don't work, but it's not good. There's nothing gameplay-wise or metaverse-wise that's good enough for me to move all of this, find a space, and plug that in.
Right.
Like it's the most annoying thing. And then I have to wear one of these stupid sweatbands so that you don't fog up the lens. Yeah, it's annoying. But.
Yeah, but you sweat playing.
Yeah, I sweat. Fair point. Playing Warzone, I'm like, but
I come down here like, what the hell? Open a window.
But you don't have to embarrass me in front of everyone. They don't need to know. They can't smell me. They can only see me. But yeah.
Should we pan the camera to the deodorant on your desk?
Yeah. Sponsor me. What is this? Axe.
Axe. Yeah.
You guys can't see it, but like.
We do not get any money for promoting the Axe product.
But Axe, please sponsor me anymore. I'm sweating a lot down here. But yeah, so VR, as fun as it is, there's only so much you could do with it. Like, there's so many variables to even playing it and setting it up that by the end I'm like, I don't want to do this.
Yeah, I don't know how realistic it is for people to have a certain size space that's always open, right? You don't have to move furniture every time with those zone cameras or whatever they call
You guys can't see it, but my two are here. So I used to do VR this way, but I kept hitting things.
Yeah.
So the holes in the ceiling, you guys can't see it, but I've been punching the shit out of those.
Don't tell that.
Yeah, so, but the two, so now it goes this way, which is nice.
Yeah.
I feel like I have more room and I'm not hitting things. But yeah, the space you need, you're sweating the whole time, so you can't even play it in the summer. Right. But this is also one of those things with the metaverse.
In theory, you could, if a person had the space, the air-conditioned space, and space to do it in, that's allotted to VR. They have it set up, but they can't, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. That's kind of unrealistic for the average person. Or for young kids to use it if that was their goal, to have it for, gaming and whatnot.
You need like a room dedicated to VR right now.
Right.
There's the Facebook one that's the Oculus 2 or whatever, that there's no wires, which is really nice.
Yeah.
And you can use it on your phone, so it's just Bluetooth in, whatever.
Yeah.
That's different, but with real VR, and I consider real VR as anything on a computer, it's just not even worth using. But I also think that with this, the metaverse isn't a game, right? It's a social media platform, basically. It's basically VR chat. But the idea that they're going for is they want people to be spending time. Like, this is your new life in this metaverse. Like, that's their new thing. Yeah. No one wants to do that when they have stuff to do outside. Everyone knew this was going to kind of fail beforehand. I guarantee you metaverse isn't going to last the next 5 years. I guarantee it. I don't think it will.
Well, probably not. I think
at least not in the VR.
I think they just want to be the first ones to do it.
Absolutely.
and to say we tried it, we did it. Now we know Facebook's having a lot of problems. Zuckerberg's having a lot of problems.
You can only go down so much before. You can only go down so much before you start cutting big projects, and I guarantee you, Metaverse is going to be the first one they cut. Facebook's not going to go away.
I mean, in general, I think the VR world, it's fine once in a while, but I think their goal is that should replace your everyday reality. If they had their way, they'd have people walking around with those VR things 24/7, especially young people, and just they're feeding in your environment rather than the world around you. And I just have a problem with that. I mean, we've already seen the cons that come along with just media in general for young developing minds. And I don't know that I think people are anxious about the VR world. I liked it when you were working on a program for training.
Yeah.
That's practical to me, so you don't have to go to a facility. You can put that on, and you can at least have an idea of what you're working with before you walk into an environment. Maybe the implications down the road for, say, surgical procedures, if they tweak
That's what I want. I was talking to someone the other day. The only people that... or the only games that I really want in VR, like I've played some shitty ones, and then there's the good ones like Blade and Sorcery, Hot Dogs, Horseshoes, Hand Grenades, and then Pavlov. Those are really the only games worth playing regularly in VR. I want a real medical surgeon simulator. That's what I want. I want to perform surgeries in VR. That's the only thing I care about. There's nothing more I care about.
Well, are those games more expensive?
If it's medical grade, like a medical grade.
No. I mean, even just the ones, because
no, actually,
are a lot of people playing
VR games are actually significantly cheaper
because they try and get people to do more.
Try and get them to play more, but scale wise, they're not that big. So when you think about it, each level is the size of maybe like one room. Okay. So they're actually very small games. Very few, like at most games, I would say the average is like $20. Whereas like a high-end one is $40 to $60.
All right, that's
and
not
60
bad.
is like super high-end.
I thought because maybe there aren't a lot of them, they charge a high price for them.
No, well, you have to remember that right there is $300, right?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Do a lot of people have that, and are people buying VR games?
Yeah. Well, the Valve Index is $1,000. The Index is the really...
What's that?
That's that, but Valve, that's Steam's... VR system. And that's $1,000, but it's a little more in depth because you can actually move each finger individually, which is really cool. But again, is it worth it? Do you have the space? The cheaper version is the mobile version, which I was talking about. Mm-hmm. And what that does, for those of you that are curious, is the reason I don't call it real VR is because it scales everything down. So that does 1080p, some do 4K. What that does is like 420p, and it just scales the resolution down onto your phone. See what I'm saying?
But not in your VR world, right? When
you're seeing it as if you were looking at it on a phone. So the resolution scaled down for your phone, so that's easier for the wireless one to see. Oh, okay. It's annoying. It's yeah. So you have special, like if I buy a Batman game in VR on here, say it's 3 gigabytes, whatever, of space. If I got it on here, the resolution changes, so it's only like 300 megabytes, not instead of the 3 gigabytes is like really small because of the resolution scale.
So it doesn't really. You have to have one system then. Like you couldn't use that one and then go back to that one. That would like mess you up, right?
Unless it's through Steam, but phone doesn't really have that. So yeah, I'm not sure.
Why would I run it through the phone though? Don't you need a?
If you don't have a PC, no. So what happens is because all the stuff's in the screen. So, like mine, it runs off of my PC, which is why I can run high-end games at...
Gotcha.
Right. Because my computer has the power. But for that, into the phone version, they scale it down so it doesn't use as much power. So that's why it's...
So you have to use the phone to set it up like we do sometimes. Like you ask me sometimes, just tell me if I'm lined up. How do you
I don't know how it really works in that regard. Okay. Honestly, I think most of it's for like watching movies and basketball games in VR. Like they have, it's kind of like I don't like gaming on a phone in VR sucks.
Yeah,
like
that
I don't think
it's
that good.
How much power? Yeah.
But I don't know. Maybe someone does. I'd like to see that. But here's one thing I can guarantee you: there's no one doing VR every single day because you have to have a setup. Unless like you have a whole computer dedicated to just VR, which you'd be balling out. Like you must have a pretty big house and you have the money to spend. Yeah. Unless you're a company, you're not you're not having VR in all day. Yeah.
I'm gonna date myself and say you're like Arthur.
Arthur, the
There
cartoon?
was a movie called Arthur back in, I want to say, the 80s. He was a spoiled, rich, grown man.
What the?
But he was
What
childlike.
are you calling me?
Arthur. And
Arthur on the Rocks.
it was
That was the
it
second
was a
one.
great movie. Liza Minnelli was in it. She played the female lead in it, and
Liza
she
Minnelli,
wasn't.
yep.
She didn't have money, but he was just a spoiled guy, nothing better to do all day long. He just wasted his life away. And Sir John Gielgud played his butler, and would make fun of him all day long. But that's the kind of person. You have to have a lot of money. You have to be older to do it. You know, a kid necessarily isn't going to do that all day, and spoiled brat. So we'll call them the Arthurs.
The Arthurs, yeah.
So that's the kind of person who could do VR all day long.
Yeah, like, but that's what I mean. Like,
And
you have
nothing
to
else.
have a computer dedicated to it because you're not
Right.
going to want to set it up every day, go through the
A computer, you need a
system
whole
of-
space.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
not
You'd
just
have to have a
computer.
computer in an empty room
Right,
to
right.
do it every day. So
Right.
yeah, metaverse is not going to work. It wasn't like even
Yeah.
until VR gets to the point where I could just put on glasses real quick and that's it.
But no,
it's
wait
not
a
gonna
minute.
work.
Couldn't you do metaverse off your phone? With the download, because all you're doing is a social
metaverse?
platform. You're saying
Yeah, but
you don't
what I'm
really
saying
need
is
a
there's not
full-scale
enough
computer.
stuff to do. Yeah, like I could, but at the same time, it's like I still need the space. I still need the time to do it.
Do
right?
you? If you're just putting on and going into like a room, an AI room, and
Well, you have to set up the
If you're on
boundaries. Right? If I go to a new room,
do
have
you
to-
just for a meet and greet? And metaverse? I mean,
To a
what, are
certain
you
extent.
doing things in the metaverse, or are you
Yeah,
just
to a
meeting
certain
people?
extent.
Oh.
It's yeah, you're moving around and stuff.
Oh, okay.
So it's not just like a sit down and I wouldn't be surprised if one day within the next 10 years we have like board meetings and stuff in VR just
Right.
because no one wants to be there, but it's not at the point yet where it's usable for any purposes. Especially in, like, I'm playing games. Metaverse is just like, let me talk to you. I might as well just call you. I don't need to.
Yeah.
I'm not going to put on a headset just so I could talk to my mother
Right.
for 15 minutes and then take it off and go back to my day.
Right.
Plus, you do lose track of time in there to a certain extent.
But
You
I
don't
will
know.
say this on the other side of it. There was a time where people would say, "Ugh, I don't want a phone that can look at me," and now we have FaceTime. You know,
but
like
it's
everything kind
different,
of
though, because FaceTime
progresses.
is one button. This is a whole system. Like 10 years from now, if it's not a process to do, then yeah. I
Right,
have no
that's what I'm
problem
saying.
with
They'll
that.
tweak the
Yeah.
process down to
But the process
Special
isn't the
phone.
issue. The problem or process that needs to be fixed is that.
Yeah.
That's it's too bulky, too much of a problem.
They
At
have
least they have
rats.
wireless ones, but
Yeah. they'll keep tweaking it down
They have
to
to.
like glasses. you
that's
put
what I
on.
hope.
Yeah.
If they came out with a glasses version, I'd be all over that.
Right.
But we're looking at 10, 20 years from now. I think that'll
Yeah, I mean,
condense.
I don't know that the demand is. I don't know. It's maybe for specialty.
It's not. There's not
things.
enough games, so for people to actually get VR is not in a state where everyone should get it just yet.
Yeah.
There's like 4 games that are worth getting, which is, as I said, Blade and Sorcery, Hot Dogs, Horseshoes, Hand Grenades, which is the shooter. That's the one that lets you try any gun you want.
Yeah.
Realistically, Pavlov, which is like a CS:GO clone, and then Half-Life Alyx, which is to this day is like the most well done VR game. Like that's one that's worth 60.
Yeah.
Like and actually feels like I'm playing a full-fledged game.
Yeah.
Other than that, there's nothing in the fast 5
But you're
years.
you're in the gaming world though. I think their intent is to make this more of
Absolutely,
a
but what
platform
I'm
for
saying,
other
and what I'm
things.
saying is, if there's nothing to do in VR
Yeah.
except for talk to people,
Yeah.
I'm not going to spend $300 to $1,000 on a VR system.
Yeah,
just
I
so
mean,
can
the few
talk to
things
people.
I've seen out of the metaverse, I guess they call
Looks
it.
like a kid's game.
Well, not only that, they've had issues, right, with inappropriate behavior when people go on there. They can go on as an avatar that's a young person. It turns out it's an old man or an old woman, and young kids are on there that look like they're adults, which is not fair to the adults. I think they're conversing with another adult. Turns out to be a kid. Nobody's really policing that, if you will, or watching it to make sure. It's just like a free for all. Are you quote unquote physically harmed? No, because you're not physically there. But then again, you're being subjected through your virtual reality to inappropriate things sometimes. So I just look at it like, well, again, what's the point?
Yeah, I don't see VR being worth doing for the next 5 to 10 years. Yeah, there'll be some games that come out that are phenomenal,
Yeah.
but you're not missing out that much. That like they're not going to be life-changing games.
Right, and even from a social perspective, if you're not gaming,
like that's what I mean. I can't even see it from a social perspective because gaming's not there. So if gaming's not there and I'm not having that much fun in gaming, there's no way I or other people, especially the people who are getting this, which is probably gamers, are going to be doing it just for a social media.
Well, no,
aspect.
not in metaverse. Not in the metaverse. You got people who are at home, locked down
that's
for 2
true.
years, that just wanted to socialize with people, and that was one way of doing it.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a good point. But even then, you're still spending crazy amounts of money and time.
Oh, I agree.
I
But
don't
I think
know.
that was their point, to get it to the point where it's cost effective, that everybody has it, like a phone or a cell phone, right? Because people said about cell phones, nobody could afford that when it first came out, and then all of a sudden people all started to get it. Now it's a common thing, and I think that was their goal. But at the end of the day,
No.
to get to that point, you got a lot of steps to go through with the equipment and the desire. I mean, I think we're going in the wrong direction with this social media stuff, isolating more people so they do it from their home.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, social media is already a problem to begin with. The stats say, I mean, when you look at suicides, depression, it's always linked to social media. That's like one of the biggest things. So I don't know if this helps it or hurts it. Probably hurts it. I can't see it being good.
I think it was a virtual reality, nuclear explosion. Did you see that? It was, I gotta send that to you.
Really?
Oh my gosh, it was the most bizarre thing. I'll send it to you.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. I've never done that, but
maybe?
no. There was a VR game a while ago that did the it was what it was to be like as the original have you ever seen I think it was on History a couple years ago, but basically they had people who witnessed the first nuclear bomb at a distance.
Yeah.
It was the soldiers, I believe it was a nuclear bomb or atomic bomb. They blew it up in the ocean and they wanted to see what the effects were. And the soldiers were saying how they could literally, like when they closed their eyes like this because the explosion was coming, they could see their bones through their eyes, right? Because of the nuclear. So it was, the idea was they wanted to make a game that basically mimicked that, to know what they saw, like give an idea. And I think it's one of those free games. I don't know if it's there's a lot of free games like that are usually those, like they have the Titanic. If you were on the Titanic when it was sinking, those kind of things, which is kind of eerie to think about. But I mean, they're as realistic as a video game can be. You know?
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't think you. I mean, you saw the force of the blast.
Yeah.
You saw it.
You don't have any feeling. So.
No, but it ravaged the trees around you. Probably the thing shook, and then you continue to watch the plume for the next. It felt like 5 minutes. I eventually shut it off. I'm like, okay, I know where this is going, but it was kind of interesting to see how long it takes. This was nuclear, not atomic, right? Mm-hmm. This just went on and on and on, and the destruction around you just kept continuing. I don't even know how far away you were supposed to be from it, but it's a interesting topic right now when I've got a president talking about the Armageddon that's coming with the nuclear attack. So all of a sudden I saw that. I'm like, well, if that doesn't wake people up to, that's a real climate issue.
Yeah, yeah.
Have a nuclear bomb go off.
Jeez.
That's a bit more than.
I mean, look at Chernobyl.
I know. Right?
That's an environmental problem.
Yeah.
All right, ready for I got 2 video game news, and then I think we're good. So this week, Overwatch 2 launched. Now, frustrating for many. Overwatch 1 was a very successful game many years ago. Very popular game, and they just moved over to Overwatch 2. Lots of problems because they didn't expect as many people to be playing. So you would turn it on and it would say 30,000 people in queue. And then once it got to 0 after waiting for 4 hours, it would say, hey, internet connection problems. So they were having problems like crazy.
Just because of demand? Or did you have that level of demand before?
No, right. This is a game that fell off because of many years and new games came out. Then they said, here's Overwatch 2. Now, here's where I will kind of defend them a little bit here. Now, I've always been kind of... Overwatch 2 is basically just an upgrade from 1. There's no differences, really, except for a couple characters and rebalances. And I don't... and they were getting a lot of heat for it because, right, you always do a beta beforehand, before something comes out, and then you launch the game. And the beta didn't do that well because everyone said, oh, this is just the first game.
Right.
Now, the company's going to see that. Blizzard's going to go... Okay, well, clearly this is how many people we got for the beta. We can roughly estimate this many people are going to play our main game when it comes out at release. Mm-hmm. they were clearly wrong. There was a lot more people playing because, I mean, people want to play the game from 2016 that they played, right?
Okay.
So,
So they didn't want Overwatch 2. They wanted Overwatch 1.
No one wanted Overwatch 2, but it's coming out. People liked the first one, so we're going to give it a chance. But because of how many people played, their servers weren't ready for it. And
they went back to the original, you're saying?
No, the original shut down. I'm just saying they back to the original as in like they want to feel Overwatch 1 again, right? 2 comes out. This is the only one out. I just want to play Overwatch, whether it be 1 or 2. So they log into 2. So many people wanted to play that you couldn't even get in. The people that did get in were still having server issues. And I kind of felt bad because I wanted Overwatch to come back.
Yeah.
I played a lot of Overwatch with friends. But yeah, they just had a really rough launch, and people say, oh, well, this is just another failure. I don't think it's going to be a failure, but I do wish that Blizzard, which is a huge company, could have prepared a little better for this. I mean, you have servers. So what they should have done is taken the servers from Overwatch 1 and moved them to 2 rather than shut down all the servers for 1. And,
that's got to be expensive to start.
Well, I don't, but I don't know. Again, that could just be me talking out of my ass because I don't know if you can physically, even though it's the same game, same engines and stuff. Actually, it might be a different engine.
You're doing a lot of ass talk.
I don't know if well, what I'm saying is I don't know if you can physically just move servers like that.
Yeah.
My guess is you get rid of the servers, keep whatever basis there is, and then start moving stuff over. But I feel like instead of canceling...
To China? Like Mr. Connect?
Yeah. I don't know where Blizzard... I think Blizzard's in California, but I'm not sure. But yeah, every AAA game has a rough launch, so this isn't anything to be like, oh my god, how could this happen? We had a feeling that there was going to be a problem with this one, but it's not. It'll get better. It's just a matter of time. They just have to allocate more servers.
You would think by now these companies would understand, manage expectations. This isn't the first time this has happened. And
in their defense, though, again, when you have a bad beta, like a beta that not too many, like say you only had like 10,000 players.
That's true. I guess they didn't expect
and then all of a sudden
volume.
you go from 10,000 to, 50, 60 million.
Yeah.
That's a huge difference. And it's 10 people to a server now. So, think of how many servers you need.
Right. So, if for nothing else, all these companies should realize you got to be prepared for that.
Yeah, you got to be prepared. But, again, in their defense, they didn't expect to do as well. I guess it's kind of a good thing that people are playing Overwatch. Overwatch again, but...
Gee, I wonder if that's a business where you just are like a backup server if a company needs it.
I don't know if that's really possible because you do have to build... Right, if I have Overwatch, which is a very different game from... anything else, and then like transferring over is not a day thing, so you can't. It's one of those estimations that you can't make, and because of how video games have been going recently in the last like 2-3 years, it's very hard to estimate. Like, oh, there's going to be 5 million players, and then all of a sudden you get like the fact that you went from 5 million to 50 million. That's an insane jump.
Yeah.
But the only reason that jump is there is because all the other games right now are kind of stale.
Oh,
we haven't really had a big
alternative, so people go on.
Think about it, the most popular game right now. Games used to come out every year and everyone would get them, and that would be the most popular game. But ever since Fortnite came out 5-6 years ago, it's still one of the most popular games.
Right.
It's kind of unheard of for a game to last that long.
Yeah.
So the Battle Royale genre has kind of changed things drastically in the gaming world. For better or for worse, that's its own podcast in itself as to why. But, yeah, this is going to happen. This is one of those... It's good for Overwatch because it means people want to play something that's not a Battle Royale. Right. And I think that's why people are so excited because it's not a Battle Royale.
Well, can they now boost servers so that more people can get on?
Oh, yeah. I guarantee you right now they're buying servers like crazy. Right. They're putting... They probably bought entire data centers right now just to get more servers going because that's how many people want to play.
But people keep playing the game? If it's too stale?
Overwatch is a game that lasts many years. So that's one that people will be playing for the next 5-10 years.
Even though it's similar to the first one?
Yeah, because it's its own style of game. It's a 5v5. Okay. It used to be 6v6, but in Overwatch 2, now it's 5v5. Oh. Thank God. That's a balancing that they had to do.
Well, I can sleep tonight. Phew.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the reason that Overwatch 1 failed was because of what's called balancing in video games. Yeah. So what that means is, we talked about nerfs and buffs. So some characters it just didn't balance out as, right, you have 2 tanks, 2 DPS, so damage per second, so you're like attackers, and then 2 healers. Okay. So you have 2 defense, 2 heals, and 2 damage. And then what happened was you would have too many shields, So too much defense to the point where like there's no point in even attacking. So the balancing was way off. But now they got rid of one tank, so now you can only have one shield rather than 2 shields, and it completely changes that dynamic.
Okay.
So that's why it will last the next 5-6 years, and then Overwatch 3 will come out, I'm sure. But because of this, you have better balancing. So the game's gonna last. It's not like a Call of Duty where a new one comes out every year.
Are there other ones coming out, like similar to Overwatch, or any big games?
There's a game called Paladins, which is probably their closest competitor, and it's like a crappy indie game. It's not very good. They don't really have a competitor, I would argue. So they're a one-off. But honestly, their biggest competition was themselves when they stopped balancing the game.
Well, it seems kind of blah then in the video game world. Then it sounds
Very
like
blah.
there's only a handful that are.
Now you're learning, Mom.
Yeah,
and single-player games are unfortunately kind of dying. People don't really enjoy a story anymore. They want to see how good they are against other people, whereas I'm the opposite. But what revolutionized the story again was God of War, the one that you watched.
Yeah.
Like once that game came out, people were like, "Oh my God, single player games are back."
Right.
That's how good that game was.
Right.
So the next one comes out in a month, and I told Michael I'll beat him up if he doesn't bring home the PS5 because I need it.
Oh, that's why the PS5.
That's why I need it.
That'll have.
I don't want to play it on PS4, so I want to play. I would spend crazy amounts of money just to play that new one.
Don't say that.
I would take out.
Don't say that.
I would take out.
Don't tell your mother that.
I will take it. I'll take on anyone in this house. But yeah, I'm super pumped for that one. But again, single player games aren't what they used to be.
Yeah.
But to a certain extent, the stories do end up repeating themselves. It's the same kind of story across games. You have the one hero that was like bullied growing up, and then all of a sudden he becomes the hero, like that kind of stuff.
Well, I mean, the single player games, I mean, they have they're traditional, right? That's everything started that way. There's a lot to be said for the multiplayer because to me that's some degree of socializing for people that spend a lot of time
and it gives
doing
you a reason to get better at something, right? You have ranked play, so now you have a rank, and some of the most famous streamers and gamers are the ones in the high ranks. So it makes every kid go, "Oh, if I want to be famous, I have to be the highest rank."
So I'm curious, did those games go through the roof during COVID? A lot of people playing.
Multiple, yeah. I mean,
what else did they have to do all day?
That's why that Animal Crossing game that like Mary got.
Yeah, that was Twitch.
Well, that's Nintendo.
Switch.
That's Switch. Yeah.
I mean, like the type you play, like the.
Yeah, I mean, you're always gonna have a surge, but I'm sure statistically numbers went up like crazy during COVID, but I don't think it's that much different than. I could be wrong, but. Let's say it was 60 million at peak, it might be at like 40. So it's still pretty high. But
just kind of curious because people would be doing it all day. You're not going to work, you're stuck in a home, there's not much you could do. People don't necessarily watch TV. If you're
from a streaming perspective, yeah, I mean there's a lot of people that stream 12 hours a day, which I think is ridiculous, but I mean if that's your job, sure.
Oh, that was the guy you were talking about.
Yeah, you're right. I can't think of who it was. Yeah, I can't think of who it was we were talking about, but yeah, 12 hours a day of anything. I mean, too much, even if you're getting paid.
Yeah, the one who got kicked off, right? Or he left. He left to go to Twitch?
Oh, that was, that's what it was. Ninja and Pokemon.
That's right.
Yeah. So, again, it's one of those issues of like, you could be playing 12 hours a day and making money, but how fulfilled is your life?
No,
we won't go through all that again, but... And then last but not least, kind of on the same thing we're talking about, but Blizzard owns Overwatch 2.
Yes.
And Modern Warfare 2. So Warzone, which you always hear me playing and yelling at my viewers about. Mm-hmm. So they have what's called a 2-factor authentication system, which I'm sure you see on websites. Yep. One of those says you can't link a non-prepaid phone to your account. So, like, if I wanted to 2-factor authenticate to make sure that I'm a real person playing, you can't use a prepaid phone. And people are complaining like, "Oh, you're just attacking poor people," saying that you can't play the game because there's no phone number. I don't like this argument. Someone wanted me to weigh in on this. I don't like this argument because it's not really a matter of whether you can afford a prepaid phone or not. It's to make sure that you're not cheating. So that you're not just buying accounts to cheat over and over. It's kind of like when you sign up to like a news thing and use a fake email. It's more so that's the problem. Now, could you make the argument that instead of using a phone, you could use your email or something? Maybe. But I don't like this idea that they think that people think that they're attacking the poor by saying.
No, I get it. It's not everybody can afford a cell phone plan or whatever, and it's. But you don't have to do. You're right. You don't have to do. What's the other authentication? Like you do a cell phone. Well, you do
right. So everything I do is cell phone and email. So usually it's email, or I do both just for like a third verification.
What are they requiring?
They require. I'm sure email's a requirement, but they're just saying that there's no cell phone requirement. Like you have to have a cell phone requirement.
People get prepaid phones for different reasons, right?
Yeah.
Your dad had a prepaid phone for a while there because he was.
Oh right, transferring jobs.
Retiring and taking another job. So it serves a purpose for some people. It has nothing to do with their economic
status, abilities.
Right. But I just don't think it's fair that you can't have another option.
The problem's the fact that cheating has gotten so bad that we have to do this. So this is because most of the time, if you're paying for a prepaid phone, no, I can't even say that. I was gonna say people make fake emails so that they can hack and make alt accounts. Mm-hmm. If you have to verify a phone number, that verifies this is the main account, this is the one I'm not cheating on, and if I do, I deserve a serious ban. So I don't like this prepaid phone argument because, oh man, I don't even know how to put it, but...
Well, it seems to me if a person has an email, right?
Go by that, sure.
Go by that, and then cheating with a prepaid, I don't understand.
So you link an account, like to make an account, they say we need a phone number and an email. So I make a fake email and make a fake phone number from a prepaid plan or whatever. Okay. And then I play the game and cheat and whatever, hack, whatever. Yeah. And then that account gets banned, but it doesn't affect my my main account because it's not the main account. I think you go back to the IP bans. We talked about this last podcast. It should be a hardware ban. If you're cheating, your computer should be banned from that game.
Okay.
It's the harshest form of punishment. It stops cheating. I think legally you can't do that anymore. I'm sure there's some legal issue as to why you can't do it, but that's the way it should be if you want to stop cheating. Otherwise, cheating is never going to stop. So the prepaid phone, like, oh my God, how can they do this? I completely understand why they're doing this because they don't want cheaters in a game.
So they can't do like a security question because it's not an apparatus. They have to, but it has to be linked to something.
It's not a security issue. It's a cheating issue. So I have my main account. Right, I have my main Blizzard account that has that. So what if I say tomorrow I want to cheat, but I don't want my main account getting banned? I'm gonna make a new account. I'm gonna make a fake email.
Yeah.
Right. I'm gonna make a fake email and get a prepaid phone so I can link it to a phone.
Right.
Right. And usually people who do this aren't using some bullshit free cheats. They're using something very expensive to cheat that probably won't get found.
So it's really the phone that legitimizes it.
Yes,
it's not the email because anybody can give any email.
Yeah. The phone, because it's the prepaid phone is, the phone number says, not prepaid, phone number says this is my main account because you can't have multiple phone numbers unless you have a special phone.
Right.
But with a prepaid, right, I could get a prepaid and I'm going to cheat in this game, get to the top.
Right.
And then basically just cheat my way to the top and then get whatever perks of being at the top. Right.
Okay.
If you get to a certain level in a game, especially something like Overwatch, you'll be asked on teams. That's how we played Siege, right? Back in the day when I met Matt and Grant.
Right, but you're still earning that regardless of how that's not really a cheat though.
Well, you're using that account to cheat.
You're using that account to get you to a higher level so then you can apply it to something.
No, you don't even bother with the main. No, you don't bother.
But how is that cheating? You're still
you add stuff. Okay, this is one of those things how I just don't think you need a reference.
Okay.
So
if I don't know that,
if I have cheats on my computer,
yeah,
I'm not going to cheat on my main account because that might get banned. Right, my main account is for like playing with friends, just being honest or whatever.
You're cheating. You don't want to be detected.
You don't want to be found. You don't want your main account to be affected, so you make a second account with a fake email, prepaid phone, and because you can't sync it to your old phone because you can't have two of the same verifications.
Right, so then why do you? I don't have a problem with that then.
No prepaid. Exactly. Yeah, that's why I have no problem with the no prepaid phone. Again, make it email or whatever. But again, I think the best way to stop cheating in video games is by making the IP bans. That's the only way to do it.
How would they know that you're cheating?
So it's a third-party software. Well, most games have something called an Overwatch, so not the game.
Right.
there's something called Overwatch where people will go in and they will watch cheaters. So if I get reported enough times, they'll send in a developer of the game to say, watch this guy. Make sure he's not cheating. So they'll watch past gameplay.
It's like a casino.
Oh, yeah. Well, when ranks are on the line, I mean,
I guess
there's
so.
a lot. Because a lot of these pro players get affected by it. What if I all of a sudden was in the pros, right? I was in the top 100. They're like, where'd this kid come from? And I'm starching pros.
Right.
I mean, you'd have questions. So it affects
You
the
mean
whole
you're not yet?
No, not with Overwatch. You gotta see some of these people. You go, oh my god. Yeah, I should show you some Shroud gameplay one of these days. You'd be like, wait, how is this guy not cheating?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Shroud's. I mean, I just did a whole video on cheating, and this guy's so good, people think he's cheating, but he's not. It's it's unbelievable. But yeah, and so I have no problem with this. The no prepaid phone. Yeah.
Yeah.
Be less poor.
Well, I mean, if that's.
No, I do
cut
think,
into their business though, because people who don't want to get a phone because they
well,
can't cheat or
I would love to see the stats on how many prepaid phones there are playing the game versus non-prepaid, but I don't know if it discloses that information. Like, here's what I'm saying: I don't know if you would know or how they know what's prepaid and what's not. It's probably based on the number.
Yeah, that's true. Based on the phone number,
yeah.
or it seems kind of illegal to me that they would have that information. How would
That's
they
what
know
I mean.
that
I
much
don't know.
information
Well,
about
if
my
you get a
personal
text
phone?
back, right? You get a verification
Yeah.
text. If the company gets, you know how they know, because they probably have to pay a certain fee at the end for the
for the texting back.
for the
and
text back.
forth.
That's probably how they know. That would be my guess.
Wouldn't you pay that as the person who owns the phone though? Both ways.
Well, if it's prepaid, sometimes they're overseas, right? So that you probably have to pay the overseas fee. And
Yeah, but if it hits my phone, what do they
probably
care?
both sides get hit. But I don't know how it works.
I don't think. Well, yeah, that's interesting.
I have no clue how that works. But again, I have zero problem with this. Get rid of the prepaid. If there's a better way of verifying, I would say, yeah, do that. Like email and then maybe...
Well, like I said, I always get email, mobile phone, or security questions. That's the new thing now.
Yeah, security works, but it's not a matter of if you can answer security questions, though. Because you're making the questions. Right? If I'm...
Well, yeah, but that proves who you are. So it's
Right, but I'm still the
security.
same person. We're not talking about hacked accounts. We're talking about me deciding that I'm going to make a new... Like, no one stole my account.
Right.
Yeah. It's an issue. It's an issue that cheating is
so
going to be a
the only
problem.
reason why a person would use the prepaid is that's... Okay.
To cheat, or they can't afford it.
To cheat if they can't afford it, but... Yeah.
And then it screws the people that just simply can't afford prepaid phones. But if you were to weigh in the people that are using a legitimate phone and one that's using prepaid versus non-prepaid, I'm sure that's a risk they're willing to take, even if it hurts some players. Because there's no way that there's more prepaid phones out there, gamers out there.
Yeah, well, they got to look at the stats for that because they'll
Plus, you
come
can
up with
always
that.
ask someone. Here's the other thing: you can always ask someone who isn't on a prepaid for their number. If you're not going to cheat, like I can ask you for yours, you're going to get a one-time verification. That's it. You'll never hear of it again. So, yeah. So, like, I could go to Kenny or Michael, say, hey, can I just activate an account through your phone? They get one text and that's it.
But then their number's linked to the game.
It is, but, like, it won't matter unless you're cheating.
Well,
right? If you're cheating.
but then they can't go make their own because you've used their number.
Right. But, like, I wouldn't ask
that.
Kenny or Mike. I know you're not going to be playing Overwatch anytime soon. So, I could go to mom or dad and use their phone.
That's
what most kids do.
Yeah, but that's not a great business plan because for people that now you're relying on a second party.
Well, you just need the verification number. That's the problem with the prepaid.
but that's not the best way to do it. I mean,
that's the problem with verifications.
It's a workaround,
Yeah.
but it's kind of a weird.
Well,
if you're an adult who has a prepaid phone, you're not going to call your
right. But like when I was a kid,
yeah.
I'd have to use your number, right? When I didn't have a cell phone.
Right.
If I said, "Mom, I want to play Overwatch 2, I need a cell phone," then that's how you would do the workaround.
Well, and they don't want that because a lot of parents will say, "You want to do what? What is it?"
Right.
They're not going to want kids doing that, or they're going to now feel like they can monitor it. So that's why I think that probably they want for adults who do this.
That's why I'm saying the only reason you would have a prepaid phone is if you're trying to cheat or if you truly just can't afford it. And if you can't afford it, it sucks that you can't play the game. But also, if you're weighing in the positives versus the negatives as a company, I guarantee you there's a lot more people out there with paid phones than prepaid phones.
Well, they're going to figure that out fast because if it's a small percentage, they're not going to deal with it. If it's not worth the cheating, they'll say, sorry, guess you can't buy our game.
And these are competitive games. If it was any non-competitive game, they probably wouldn't care. But when you have, truthfully, you have pro games on the line. Yeah. You have certain companies on the line that benefit from these games.
Right.
There's a lot of factors there. So, I'm all for this. And I guarantee you're going to see a lot of other games do this too. Like Modern Warfare 2 is going to have that because anything on Blizzard. Right. And then... you're going to see this in more and more, definitely competitive games. So, that's how I want to end it. I don't have anything else to talk about except for Draymond Green's big punch that I've been watching over and over.
I was reading apparently this stuff happens a lot.
In practice?
Well, they had some comments from Steve Kerr about it. He said, I see this all the time. Problem is, you saw it.
I wonder if that makes it lighter. And it makes it think that...
well, that's what he was trying to say, that this is kind of stuff that goes on. The people get hotheads and they fight. Don't know if it's that... He made it seem like it was perfectly normal. And even Draymond's comments were, this stuff happens. It shouldn't have happened, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, I'm sure you have arguments. They're all competitors. So even amongst each other when there's no other team, I'm sure they're competitive. But when it gets to that point, But
that's what he was implying, Kerr. This happens more often than people realize. Jeez. You just don't get it on a cell phone. So the question is now, who is videotaping this? They'll find that person, fire that person for doing that. Because I don't know who's in the stands that, I didn't see the reaction of the other guys, the teammates, other than a couple guys going
I will say, no one really did anything. So to Steve Kerr's point,
it might be
maybe that is true.
Common thing.
But let me tell you, if that's common in sports when you're hitting your own teammates, and for those of you that haven't seen the punch, I can't post it to YouTube, but that's a punch that could kill somebody.
Well, there's serious punches, but
and these are not small dudes.
No, and the guy receiving it isn't small either. It's not like he's punching an average-sized person.
Draymond Green is a big guy for that height and weight. Right? He's their power forward basically. So I could be wrong on that, but. He's a big dude.
Who knows the dynamics? Now that I see these comments that it's very common, maybe it's a form of rite of passage in these, everybody has it once in a while. I don't know. I'm suspicious when I see some of these comments. I'm not a big fan of Kerr to begin with, but having said that, if he's making it sound like it's something that happens and
I'm
I'd like to hear other coaches maybe say something too.
Anyway, podcast 15 done. Again, a little upset we didn't have any podcast questions. Clearly, you guys just weren't prepared. Let me check real fast. I don't think there are any podcast questions. Yeah, none. So that's fine. It's fine. It's whatever. Not upset. But 15 done. Next week, Kenny should be on. So I don't know what we're going to do next week. I might give you the day off.
I would throw it out there. You never know with Kenny.
With Kenny.
You can't rely on that.
Yeah. So either way,
the social butterfly.
Yeah. 15 done. Only things I have to promote. So last week's podcast was on Monday. Remember, podcast is also on Spotify. Wednesday was the Twitch Clips video. Go check that out. Friday was the hacking video that I posted. Saturday, which was today, was the Call of Duty video. Tomorrow is a speedrun video, and then Monday's the podcast. So, it's going to be a busy week. But, we'll see you guys next week, and I'll see you guys at stream on Monday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard. So, okay. Good job, Mom.
Yep.